Okay. Oh, and now nobody's in the waiting room. Okay.
I'm gonna assume they're clicking out and clicking back in.
Yeah. Hey y'all, hey, welcome to Doula Summer School. Tonight we are going over how to become a doula. It's a topic that we did earlier this year in Doula Night School, and it went over so well, but we cannot wait to dive into it. Before we get too far into things, I definitely want to welcome everybody. Thank you guys so much for checking out this free training. We really appreciate it. I am Jarielle Campbell. I am the host of the Doula Road Trip podcast. In case you're just now putting a face to a name, or you've never heard me and you don't know me from a can of paint. So what's up? And I'll let my lovely co-host introduce herself. Uh-oh.
Hey.
Better now?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
I'm like, I got stuck. I done muted myself, can't come off. Hey, everybody. I am super excited for Doula Summer School. My name is Deja. I am the virtual doula. I am claiming that. I don't feel like I'm going back to that in-person life. So it's good to be here, good to be doing this training just to give those initial steps about how do I even get started? How do I even determine, in-person versus virtual versus all the different options and trainings that you have. So I'm excited to jump into just how to get started. Where are the steps to take of how to become a doula?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me screen share because we have a very beautiful presentation that we want to be able to share with y'all about how to become a doula. And so we will get right into that. And I do want to tell everybody too, even though you are watching the replay, like definitely write down your questions, right? As things come up throughout this, write down your questions and feel free to send those questions to us, right? So email us and let us know, hey, I just watched your training and I have some questions. Can you guys clarify this or that? We would be more than happy to. So I just wanted to say that. Okay, let me screen share and okay, so this is a testimonial actually from one of our mentees, Raquel, and she is talking about how she's been able to work with us. She came to Doula Night School before, and she's talking about how she's already had like 2 births this year, how excited she is, how she can't believe how quickly it all happened. And so I just wanted to show you guys this to show you guys that we do help aspiring and new doulas to really put the pieces together to make their doula dreams a reality and to really get going with supporting clients, supporting people in their community and doing the work that they love. Okay, so now that we got a little bit of social proof out of the way, let's go ahead and get into our presentation. So as we have already said, welcome. Like we're super excited that you guys are here and that you are watching this training. I wanted to be able to tell you guys that we will cover a few things throughout this training. So let's briefly go over that so that way you know, hey, like what can I expect? So first things first, we want to talk about like what are the very first steps to take to become a doula. I know that that's the number one question that's asked. Like, I want to become a doula. What steps do I take in order to make that dream a reality? So we will talk about that. We also want to talk about the types of doula work. So many times people hop in and they want to become a birth doula, but there are like 900 other types of doulas that exist and types of doula works that you can consider. So we definitely want to talk about all of the diverse things that doulas do in the settings that we work in. So we'll dive into that. Of course, we want to talk about how you become trained, right? So picking a training organization is a big decision. And I know that there's so many options, so many things to consider. So we do want to support you in picking the training organization that's right for you. And then we also want to tell you, like, when you go to training, what can you expect, right? So what's actually going to be happening once you do attend your very first training as a doula? We will break all of that down and share that with you. No worries at all. We'll give you the tea. So that's what we're going to cover. We said a little bit about who we are already, but just to go a little bit deeper into detail, I'm Jariel Campbell. I am a birth and postpartum doula. I've been practicing now for about 3 years in this phase of my doula career. I've supported about 30 families. By the end of the summer, it'll be about 30 families on the birth side, and then about a dozen or so families on the postpartum side. So that's what I do. I also started a podcast. So I love to talk about doula work and business and how to make it all work. And so I created a podcast called the Doula Road Trip Podcast. It started in like December of 2020. And now it is this big, beautiful, massive, like multi-country, multi-episode, multi-co-host, as you can see from Deja and I collaborating together now, body of work that really is a community of people that are all trying to stay inspired and motivated around birth work and making our dreams a reality, making our passion something that we do for the rest of our life. So I'm really, really excited to have you guys here. And I'll let Deja do a little bit more of an introduction here if you want to as well.
Yes, absolutely. So, like I mentioned, my name is Deja. I have also been in this 3 years now, and it's so crazy to just look over these 3 years. I kind of track my doula journey by my daughter's age. She's 3 years old, and I took her at 2 months to my doula training. So I always keep track. I'm like, she's 3. I've been doing this for 3 years, and it's been a beautiful, really transformative experience personally. And so I'm just at the phase where I just want to give back all the things that I have learned, all the investments that have been made into learning the business side of things, right? Like I took a lot of time to learn the doula skills and a lot of questions that come up, like what does it look like to work with families? But then also, where are these clients coming from? And just when you're starting to get training, like some of the questions that you have and you want to look forward to see, can this be something that I do full time? Can this be something that is like my passion, but something that I don't have to juggle these other things, right? Like my 9 to 5 or the stuff that doesn't make me happy. And so now to be on this side of coaching doulas and doing the podcast where we get to talk about so many topics from the doula skills to the business skills to the lifestyle part of it, where we get real with some of the not so shiny parts of doula work that you won't often hear too much. And so that's a little bit about me. I did mention I'm a virtual doula. And so I'll be sprinkling my virtual doula stuff throughout the mix in this training and letting you know just how to make doula work for you even before you get into it. So yeah, it's going to be a good time, y'all.
All right, so who this class is for is what we're going to talk about next. So this is perfect for aspiring doulas, if you're a brand new doula, and if you are looking for a new perspective about birth work, some insight, this is going to be perfect for you. And we also want to take a moment and talk about the fact that doula night school, doula summer school, anything that we host, we are not a training or certifying body, right? So we're just two dope Black doulas who want to give insight into how to get started, right? So you do still have to do the research, find the training organization, get trained and get certified. That is not what this is, right? This is just going to give you an overview of some places you can start, some things to expect, some questions to ask in order to make you successful along that journey of becoming a doula, all right? So we're your companion guide, your cheat sheet, all right? So that's what this will be. All right, so Doula Night School will also be a resource, like we were saying, an informational tool. It'll be a point of reference, a startup guide. We will answer a lot of frequently asked questions. Deja and I both, we mentor and we also coach doulas, and we've built a really, really dope community through our platform, through the Doula Road Trip podcast, as we talked about. So we are community leaders, and so we're always talking to doulas, meeting new doulas, and doing whatever we can to support people in being successful along their journey. Did I miss anything here?
You checked all the boxes.
Okay, cool. All right, so then we'll keep going. Okay, so at this point, we want to talk about the 3 simple steps that you need to take in order to become a doula. So first things first is that you need to decide what type of doula work you want to do, right? So that's the first thing. There are so many options as far as that goes, and we're going to get into that in 1 minute, but you definitely want to consider what type of doula work will fit you, your personality, and your lifestyle. The next thing you want to do is pick a doula training organization, right? So literally, y'all, I remember like back in 2015, when I first found out about doulas, it felt like it was like a handful of people that were certifying doulas. And now at the time of this recording, it is 2022 and the options seem ridiculous. Like every single week, it seems like it's a new doula training organization popping up out of the ground, out of nowhere. And so it can be so overwhelming to pick the right doula training for you. But don't worry, we'll definitely get into that in a moment to give you guys some tips and some tools in order to pick the organization that will best fit you and your goals that you have for your doula career. And then last but not least, the most important step is that you actually have to attend a training, right? So being a doula is an unregulated industry, right? And what does that mean? It means that it's not like becoming a doctor or a nurse where you need to attend like college or university and like there's all these prerequisites, but we do take our education very, very seriously. And so in order to become a professional doula and to make this a career, the very first step is a solid foundation of knowledge and information, because you're going to need that to support your clients. So attending a training is so, so important. Attending the right training is so, so important. Deja, did you want to hop in and add anything here?
I'm ready to dig into this more. These are like the surface steps, and a lot of times we miss along the way what we'll talk about more. Even like step number 2 is like a big one that comes up as far as what does it look like to pick an organization. And so I'm ready to dig into it and to give more context to things for people.
All right, then let's go. So before we dive into it, we always want to talk about this. Before you become a doula, ask yourself the question of like, what are my core values? Because your core values will be the compass that will guide you throughout this entire process. So for me, my core values are freedom, family, integrity, community, generosity, and personal development, right? So if you've never picked out core values, if it's something you've never thought about, you can definitely Google. There's like a list of core values. You could just start crossing off things that absolutely don't resonate with you until you get to your list of your top 3 to 5. And those are the things that are the most important to you. So for me, I know freedom is really, really important, which is why I'm an entrepreneur, right? Like the cubicle life does not suit me. I definitely need freedom and flexibility to do what I need to do when I need to do it, to show up for my family in the way that feels best for me, to make the amount of money that feels right for me, right? So I definitely value freedom. And then again, I have a 4-year-old. I also have a husband. So being available for my family throughout my career and my life is something that's also important to me. Being able to have a rhythm where I feel like I'm giving my all to my career and also keeping my family first is of the utmost importance to me, right? So just starting to think about what are like your 3 to 5 core values that you know for sure are who you are in your essence, right? And this is regardless of what you do right now or what position you might play right now, because we get to build something from scratch. So we get to redo and rethink everything that you've done so far in your career. So definitely take a moment, pause this video, go through, think about what your 3 to 5 core values may be and write those down. Those are going to be really, really important.
So y'all, the importance of this step before you think about what type of doula you want to be, what's the training organization, all the kind of finer details. So much of a lot of industries, but particularly the doula world, can be an echo chamber, which for better or worse can serve you if it's what's in alignment for you, or if it's not what's in alignment, you won't even know that because you haven't checked in before you've started down the rabbit hole of training and certification and all this ongoing knowledge. If you haven't checked in first with what's most important to me and how is this going to fit with my lifestyle. And so going back to what are your particular and personal core values, for me, mine are kind of similar to yours, Darielle, as far as impact. So I want to make impact, income, and independence. Those are like, after we had a conversation, I know probably like a month or 2 ago, I was like, I have some, I have a cute little acronym to put to it, but checking in with those things first so you can see, again, what's most important to me. How can I do this in a way that is serving families and, what doulas come into this for, which is I think the impact piece, I think a lot of people's core value would be, I want to make a difference, but also what else in there, right? Like, it's not selfish to have other core values that go along with the fullness of who you are. And so where I say that echo chamber can come in, and if you haven't checked in with your core values, some people come into this work for a very specific reason, for a very specific core value that's awesome for them. But if it's not for you, that's okay. That you don't have to be the person who does it all, but you have to check in with you first, because you may quickly find out that you've signed up for something that doesn't honor you as a person. And when we start to talk about why do doulas burn out, why aren't people staying around long? If one of your things was freedom, how does freedom fit into this picture for you? And if you haven't been honoring that from the jump, if you aren't honoring that a year in and 2 years in, people leave this work not because they don't like supporting families, but because it's just not working for them. So this has to be the first step. And it can be a hard step, right? Like, if you don't really like get asked that question regularly, like, what's most important to you? It can be like, well, let me sit down and really think about that. But it's the most important step before you even get into the nitty-gritty of any of the other details.
Yeah, love it, love it. I had to stop screen sharing just so everybody could see how serious we were, because absolutely it is the most important step. Okay. All right. So core values is first. All right. Now let's go ahead and get over to it. So what is a doula? So Erica Badu has like a fantastic quote, which is, a doula is a conductor of peace. And I really feel like that's what doulas do in like every area of doula work that there is for us to exist, right? A lot of people are hiring us because they're going through some major transition in their life, whether that is experiencing parenthood for the first time. And so they're bringing a baby into their family, or the baby is already here. And it's like, oh my goodness, how do I exist with this new baby? If it is losing a loved one, right? So this could be adults like losing a grandmother or a mother or a father, and figuring out what this new life looks like without this matriarch or this big personality that we're all so used to being nurtured by in our family. Like, what do we do now? What are the next steps? And so doulas do step in as a guide, as a coach, as a comfort, as someone who is really there to lay out the roadmap for what's to expect now, while also nurturing and caring for the people that hire us and look to us for support. Y'all, let me just say, I'm so sorry about this little ghetto Canva watermark. I didn't upgrade to Pro. It is what it is. The information is still good. I'm thoroughly embarrassed, but we're here now.
Girl, listen, all y'all need to know is exactly that we're here. You're gonna get all you need to know. So stay with us, because just listen, we were just talking about this. Stay with us.
Yeah, totally
That
didn't think about this.
yeah, when we talk about doula work and what is the doula, and trying to just all the different things it means to different people, that is the best way to encapsulate, once you start to dissect the different types of doulas that you can be, is that ultimately you are the person who's holding space for these big life transitions and transformations. And that's the essence of being a doula, is not having to be the one that has all the answers about everything. Or when you start to break down again, just the difference when you get into a lot of the politics around the doula world and advocacy and all the different stuff, at the core of what it means to be a doula is you're holding space for somebody else. You're in service to whoever that person is or that family. And you're that person who's grounded through what can be really turbulent, positive or negative type of life experiences.
Okay, so we will go ahead and move to the next slide and talk about what doulas do. So we actually listen, we answer questions, we create a plan, and most importantly, we show up, whether that is physically or virtually, for our clients. So it's a lot of listening. Our clients are going through a lot. They have a lot on their minds. They have a lot that they desire, a lot of things that they want to work together. And so we are doing a ton of listening. We're also answering questions. So for a lot of our clients, they are in the middle of something that they've never been in before, right? So they always say, I don't know what I don't know, whenever I'm doing a consultation with a potential birth client. Like, I'm having a baby for the first time, I just don't know what I don't know. And so they do have a lot of questions about, how to choose a provider, what to expect when they go into labor, like just so many questions. And so we are there to answer questions and to provide resources and facilitate relationships with people who can answer their questions. We also create a plan. So in the birth world, it's a birth plan. In the postpartum world, there's a postpartum plan. And, if you're a death doula, then that may be something like the will, right? So there's always like things that we're helping our clients to create or find or execute as far as plans go. And then showing up, which is literally for birth and postpartum doulas, showing up physically. So if someone has hired you to come to the hospital or come to their house or meet them at the birth center, right? Or if you're a virtual doula, that could be showing up on Zoom, on Google Meets, right? Or in whatever other video format that you guys are choosing to meet in. So showing up for our clients to give them our energy, our personality, to give them the comfort and camaraderie that they are paying for when they have hired us for whatever service packages they have chosen to purchase.
Yeah, so the core of this, in essence, of like what a doula does, again, regardless of like what side of things you're on, is you connect the pieces. Like you help it make sense. A doula is the person who the family has like this big, beautiful vision or goal that they want to work towards, but they're at the beginning of their journey or maybe somewhere in between, and you're helping them to just bridge the gap of how do I get to this beautiful home birth that I desire, or maybe I'm not pregnant yet, and how do I conceive this baby that I'm dreaming of, and like the herbs I need to take and the lifestyle changes that need to be made. Like, how do we take what somebody desires, the uniqueness of what they desire, which is that listening piece, answer those questions that are frequently asked, create a unique plan, again, whatever that looks like, and then just show up so that whether or not that plan went according to plan, which a lot of times it doesn't, you're just there, right? Like you've done the upfront work with them, but you're there to show up to walk through everything you prepared for or to hold space for when things look different.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, y'all, let's keep this party going and we'll talk about types of doula work. So a lot of people don't know, they only have heard of like birth doulas. And so a lot of people hop into the doula world thinking that birth doula support is the only option. I just want to tell you guys that is far from the truth. So doulas support people around like the circle of life. So anywhere you may find yourself around that circle, you can find a doula who will be able to support you. So that does include, but it's not limited to abortion and adoption, bereavement support, and death doula support. So just a quick note about the difference. In the doula world, when we say bereavement support, we really mean like an expecting person who maybe has had like a miscarriage or a loss or a stillbirth, right? That's what we mean when we say bereavement. When we say death doula support, we typically mean like an adult that is experiencing the loss of like another adult, right? So like a grandmother or a mother, like that's what we mean when we say death doula. So that way you guys can just kind of get the idea with that, because it took me the longest time to figure out like, why are we saying the same thing twice? Like if you've lost somebody, you would be bereaved. Like I wasn't understanding the difference. So that's a quick note about the difference between a bereavement doula and a death doula. Fertility doula support is also out there. We have labor doula, postpartum doula. Typically a full spectrum doula is someone who is well-versed in like a few different types of doula work. So full spectrum doulas may support you through fertility, they may support you through birth and postpartum. Like, so that's what they mean by full spectrum. They are trained and certified and support people in a few different modalities. So those are just a few, and there are even more than that are on this list. So just want to give you guys a little bit of an idea.
So the key here is matching up what those initial core values were. And this is why I was coming back to the echo chamber, right? If you type in doula on Google or go into some of the doula groups, the echo chamber, again, it's not a bad thing in this case. It's going to be a lot of birth doula work. You're going to see the word doula associated with people who are in the birth space, who are showing up in a traditional way. And you, unless you're specifically looking for what does it look like to be a fertility doula, you might not happen upon it. So that's where these core values though come into place, where it's like, if I do value some freedom and independence in my life, and you know that babies are born whenever they want to be born, and that's kind of an unpredictable lifestyle, then you might start to explore, well, what does it look like to help families in another stage of life that's a little more schedulable and predictable, where the impact is still there, but it's honoring you as well in your capacity and your energy in the season of life that you're in, particularly for my people who are still 9 to 5ers, who are like, I want to transition out, but I can't just jump, I can't just jump ship yet. Like, I gotta smoothly make sure that this can work for me. Or my people who are parents, who you still have kids to show up for, whether you have childcare or not. This is where, when you start to think of what type of doula you want to be, you have to check in with you, not just what's working for somebody else, or what do you see frequently, or what is like beautifully romanticized, which again, like birth doula work is really romanticized as, like, I know you always say, Jaria, like you get whisked away into the night and you're like racing off and it's like 2 a.m. and I'm in my car and I saw a baby be born, and it can be super beautiful. So before I transitioned into virtual doula work full time, I was in person, and it's never it never gets less amazing to see a baby be born, to see a baby come out, to hear those initial little cries, and just to see new life. It never gets old. But I will say, as somebody who did not check in with my core values, didn't even really know all the types of doula work, that didn't happen. I had the echo chamber of like birth doula, birth doula, birth doula, and it did not serve me in the season of life that I was in with the 2-month-old. Birth doula work did not serve me. And so this is where it comes into play, when it's like, well, there's so many different types of doula work to consider. What's the best for me is like, start first with those core values. Start with what your capacity is, what kind of impact you want to make, and know that one is no greater or less than the other. There's so much work that needs to be done in each of these particular areas, and that it's fine to be in this one place and really dig into it and really get knowledgeable about it. And that be your lane. Let that be your lane and like rock it out, because it feels good and it's an alignment for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And just one other point, y'all, a couple of doula, like types of doula work that is not on this slide that I now know about because just doing the podcast and meeting doulas. One of them is antepartum doula work. So there are a group of doulas who specifically focus on expecting parents and supporting them throughout the pregnancy, right? So people who may be high risk, who may be on bed rest, who might not be able to do the things that, we expect and it really makes space for pregnant people to be able to do. Antepartum doulas are there for people who may not be in a season of life where that is possible. Also sex doulas. So sex doulas really focus on like education around like sex, contraception, like, your body, all of those things. And so I do want to mention antepartum doula work and sex doula work as a couple of things for you guys to consider as well. So just want to add that. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, so settings that doulas work in. So we wanted to talk a little bit about this, especially as birth doulas. We could be working in a hospital. We could also be working in a birth center. Some people do choose to still give birth at home. That is a thing. I remember a doctor who was like, oh, people are still giving birth at home. Yes, they really are. And since the pandemic, it's been a big resurgence of people coming back to hiring, midwives and nurse midwives and choosing to give birth at home. So home birth is definitely an option. And then we also have doulas like Deja who choose to go the digital or virtual route, which means that they are not meeting their clients in any particular setting, but meeting them online in video form in order to coach them, support them, educate them around creating a plan and being prepared for their childbirth. So I do want to bring that up about the settings that we could work in. Anything that I'm missing or anything you want to add, Deja?
Just that for my birth doula specifically, because this one is really mainly for my birth doulas who have the potential to be specifically in the hospital birth or home birth setting, is for my people who might be really familiar with home birth and they're like, nope, I'm coming into this because I really want to support people planning for home births and like that's the lane I want to be in. If you know that, awesome. But also it's so important to still be well versed in all these different areas and the possibilities and the options, for the simple fact that as somebody who has supported, I believe, either 2 or 3 families and personally experienced planning for a home birth and then transferring into the hospital, it's imperative that you have some context of these different birth settings, because as much as you can say like, nope, home birth it is, this is how it's going to be, this is my lane, it's awesome. And also you just want to make sure that, because birth does not go as planned all the time, that you're able to support a family. So going back to like, what does a doula do? You listen, you answer those questions about home birth, but also what does it look like in these other birth settings? You create that plan. In this case, if it was home birth, let's set up, let's visualize it. But then at the end of it all, you show up. And so showing up means if things kind of change, if things look different, what does that look like? Also with the virtual piece. So we're kind of out of the heavy policy part of COVID, but not really, especially like we're just in it. We're still in the constant up and down with policy change. And so even this virtual aspect, if you don't envision yourself supporting families in this way, that's fine. But in the event that policy changes suddenly and now only one support person is allowed in and the partner is the one who goes in, have you set up those expectations with your client, or just again gotten familiar with what it could look like to support somebody and to show up when things might change and look different? So that's just the main thing I want to say with these different settings, is that get well versed in it, right? Get knowledgeable about it, have some context of the different areas so that you can show up and not completely be figuring stuff out along the way in the event that things change.
Yeah, and this is also your opportunity to do some research as well. Like you need to know like where can people deliver in the place that you live in, right? Because where I'm located, we don't have any birth centers, right? So your option is hospital birth or home birth, and then hospitals that have home birth like environments on certain floors, but that's it. So it's important to know like what the options are and to also know where you feel comfortable supporting people, right? So as a doula, if you don't feel comfortable going to a hospital, especially now during the pandemic, that's something to consider, like the risk of COVID-19 and what the policies and procedures will be. Another thing is that some hospitals are very, very strict when it comes to doula support. So they want you to sign a contract. They want you to be trained and certified and provide some sort of proof that you are trained and certified, right? So are you prepared to go through those sort of things? Are you okay with signing a contract? Are you going to go through the process of training and certifying? And are you okay with being in partnership with the hospital in that way and being on file with them in that way? And if you're not, then you need to know that as well, because if inquiries come in and people are delivering at that hospital and you're not trained or certified and you can't get in, like, and they're expecting in-person support, that could be a major snafu in your plan, right? So just some things that you really want to think through and consider and dive into, do some research, ask local doulas, also call, the places that you could appear as a doula to find out like what are the latest and greatest when it comes to rules, policies, and procedures and protocols. So just want to bring that up too.
Yes, it's setting you up for success before you, again, even jump in. It can be a really great thing to take a training and then a really hard thing to figure out like, oh, I don't really have a plethora of options local to me, or maybe I just don't know and I need to do that research to, again, set yourself up for success so that as well as when clients are coming to you, that's a big attraction point, is like maybe that person doesn't know that they have a different option other than the hospital, but you're the one who lets them know about that. So think about it, y'all. And when we start to get into the training aspect part, when you're picking a training organization, if you're going to be in the hospital, you're going to have to pick very carefully and know what does that look like locally for you, because it's a whole thing out here, y'all. It's a whole lot more to it than meets the eye.
Ain't that the truth? Okay, so speaking of picking a training organization, that leads right into our next thing. So, doula training organization. So, things that you absolutely need to know. Doula training is meant to give you the foundational knowledge of how to support families, right? So there are many options created, and not all of these options are created equal, y'all. So I just want to say that off top. Some organizations do like focus on certain aspects, right? So you might see some organizations that are really focused on supporting people who are like non-binary or part of the LGBTQIA community. Some people are really focused on like advocacy as like the foundation of what they give. Some people are standing on the leg of, you know, being like super professional and being the place where doulas go if they want to build like a 6 or 7 figure career out of becoming a doula. So we really want to make sure that we understand like what this person's brand is and what it is exactly that they're offering to give you as somebody who is training with their organization, right? So there are a few different training organizations. Typically, you could do anything from like a weekend workshop where they take you on like a Saturday and Sunday from like 9 to 7 and give you everything you need, all the way through people who are completely virtual and online, and they'll train you for an entire year, right? So they're giving you what you need to know as a doula. They're building in coaching, they're building in mentorship and support and tests and quizzes. And so it takes much longer to finish that. So you definitely want to know like what the training organization is going to cost, how long it's going to take you to complete that training, and if the core values of the training organization match up with the core values for you personally and the way in which you see yourself showing up in the doula world, right? So I definitely want to bring that up.
So right here, specific to training organizations, we touched on this a little bit, and I want to come back to it as far as doula work being an unregulated industry. We are unregulated, and it has positives to it, and it can have some negatives. And so the positive side of why a lot of people, again, back to those core values, for some people, me included, this is ancestral work. This is work that, you know, granny, great grandma did, and that you're following in the footsteps, and work that they didn't have to get certified through. That was tradition, something that they brought over with them, you know, from being enslaved, and something that was passed down, and that's like in your blood. And so for a lot of doulas, the unregulated aspect of it allows them to like show up and support families in the way that doesn't have stipulations and doesn't say like, oh, you can't support because of this reason. And so there's a positive to it of being able to, again, show up fully as a virtual doula, where nobody can tell me like, oh, that's not real doula work. I get to do it in the way that serves me and serves the families. And so the kind of shadow side of things not being regulated, when we come back to this part of not all trainings are created equally, there's, not to put things on a hierarchy type of thing, but it's legit that do your due diligence with looking into these training organizations. We mentioned Doula Night School, Doula Summer School. This is not a training organization, but because of the unregulated nature of doula work, anybody can say, today I'm starting this doula training organization. Like, today I'm accepting people into my organization, whether they have the qualifications or not, whether they've been doing doula work for X amount of time or not, whether they've supported families or not. Anybody can say, I'm a doula. Anybody can say, I have this training organization. And so while it is a beautiful thing for the people who get to have that space, if they have the knowledge to start up a training organization and to bring people in and teach and mentor, the shadow part of that is that there are some shady stuff out here, y'all, and I have to be real transparent with y'all, to do your due diligence with looking into things, with vetting people, the training organization, and also the people, and seeing what other people are saying about it, and really digging into things. Because just because you type in do a training organization into Google and something pops up, it doesn't mean it's 100% legit, and that, you know, put all your trust into it and just put your money down and trust that everything's going to pan out. It's really big to dig in and know your research, for that reason, that there is the shadow side of things being unregulated, where anybody can say anything, and nobody's telling them that they can't do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also want to say too about this, like, you need to be finding where people are online as far as like the doula trainers, right? And seeing like if you can see them speaking, like have they done any Instagram lives? Have they done any like YouTube videos, seeing what their personality is like? You also need to be talking to alumni, right? And so alumni of the training organization have no skin in the game. So they absolutely will tell you the truth. Yes, this was great. No, this wasn't great because of these things, or it was so, this could have been better, but this was okay. Like, so of course, a doula trainer is going to tell you, oh, this is amazing, this is fantastic, because they're trying to sell a seat in their training, which is great. But alumni will give you an unbiased opinion. And so making sure that you have a balance of both, somebody who has graduated from the program recently or attended the program recently, as well as the person who is training. I do want to say too, you want to look into the standards of practice and procedures for the organization as well as like what are they holding you up to as being a graduate of the program, right? What are you allowed to do? What are you not allowed to do? What are you allowed to say on social media? What are you not allowed to say on social media? Are there certain births that you're allowed to attend versus not attend, right? So these are all the things that you really need to know before you jump into a relationship with the organization, because myself included have, trained at a few different places, and then you start going through the process and it's like, actually this ain't sitting right with me. I don't agree with this. Like, this isn't going well. And so now I need to jump ship and figure out like what other organization can I now start from zero on and begin again. So just want to throw that out there. Like, it's some looking into the future you need to do, as well as some looking at the beginning to see who's in charge, what's going on, what's the feedback. Okay, great. Now I can see what's in front of me and what's coming for me in the future. I'm comfortable and we can move forward. So just wanted to throw that out there. Okay, so when choosing an organization, we definitely want to think about a few other things as well, which is what kind of doula work do I want to do in the future, right? So is this an organization you can have a long-term relationship with? Maybe you want to start as a postpartum doula, but you see yourself being a birth doula in the future, or you want to start as a fertility doula, but you see yourself also interested in birth doula work and postpartum doula work, right? So what are their offerings? Can I go to this organization for the things that I may be interested in the future? Also too, like, what's my learning style? So because of the pandemic, a lot of people switched to online learning. And so everything you could learn about being a doula was all on the computer, right? And now that things are kind of opening up, you see more organizations offering a hybrid between online and in person. So what is my learning style? Like, can I see myself really focused and going through the end if it's all online? Will I be confident? Will I be comfortable with that? Or do I need a combination of hands-on, in-person, like tactical type of learning on top of book learning and on top of virtual learning, right? So that's very, very important to know. Does this organization align with my core values? Do they offer business training? I can't tell y'all how many people are surprised by the fact that becoming a doula also means becoming an entrepreneur. A lot of us are not working as W-2 employees. That's not an option. You can go on Indeed and type in birth doula, postpartum doula, fertility doula. Tell me how many searches you come back with. In a lot of cases, it's not going to be a lot, right? So we are usually independent contractors, which means that we are making our own businesses in order to make money as a doula, right? So definitely, you want to make sure that if your organization does not offer business training and you've never owned a business before, you have no idea what to expect, then you want to supplement your learning with business training. So that way you're not caught out here confused and looking all types of lost on how to start a business from scratch. The other thing too is, what does the organization stand for socially? A lot of people have been surprised that when social crises have happened or when things have popped up in the news, like Black Lives Matter, how their organization was silent, had nothing to say, did not support the movement. And so you definitely want to know ahead of time, like, what's important to this organization? Is it like hunger, right? Are they really standing for Black Lives Matter or Me Too or the LGBTQIA plus community? Like, socially, what does this organization stand for? And am I going to regret it if the things that are important to me socially are not important to this organization and something breaks out and they're silent, right? So definitely want to look into that. And then again, their standards of practice. So if you're not allowed to say that you offer pro bono work, if you're not allowed to attend unassisted birth or free birth, if you train and certify with this organization, and that's something that's important to you, you want to know that. So you want to be able to read their handbook and their protocols for graduates of their program.
So I just want to circle back and just say it again back to, does this training organization offer business training? So I just want to like come back to that again. That is a huge thing that I see so often with new doulas who have taken a training, they're ready to support clients, but they're literally like, I did not sign up to run a business. Like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know next steps. Do I need a mentor? I'm thinking about shadowing, but like, I didn't sign up to run a business, and having this real like inner turmoil with themselves about wanting to do the work that's passionate, that they're passionate about, but then also feeling like, I don't want to build a business. I didn't sign up to build a business. And so really what I would offer is a reframe of even what it means to do business. I think that word can throw people off a lot, and there's a lot of resistance to the word business with the context of other industries, right? Or even my people who are familiar with the documentary, The Business of Birth, where kind of the documentary is laying out some of the issues with the hospital system, the medical system, where they are capitalizing off of birth experiences. And so in this case, I want to offer a reframe of what business can be and what it can look like to learn how to market yourself and promote yourself, and learn about using social media, and learn these different things, and how business can be a vehicle for the impact you want to make, and how the word business doesn't have to be associated with, oh, I didn't plan to start a business because I'm not trying to, get rich off of families, and I don't want to, again, whatever the negative things that can be associated with having a business, and particularly the money side of things. But just wanted to circle back around to the fact of, yes, raising your hand to say, I want to be a doula, whatever side of doula work that looks like for you, typically means I'm also signing up to build this brand and build this business and get myself out there and learn how to promote myself. And it's just the nature of where things are at right now. And if in the future things change and there are these W-2 employee type of positions that come with benefits for doulas, then I love that. But at the current place that we're at right now, it's best that, as an aspiring doula, to go ahead and plan ahead for the fact that you're going to have other tools in place besides just the doula skills. So aside from, I know how to show up and support families, I know how to ask these specific questions, I know how to create a plan. Okay, but what about the business skills that are needed to bring those families in so that those people know you're out here and you're doing what you're doing?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, y'all. Let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. Uh-oh, did I lose it? Oh no, I didn't. Okay. I think I was hitting the wrong thing. Okay, there we go, y'all. Okay, so some other things to think about when you're picking a doula training organization will also be talking a little bit about the instructor, right? So who is the instructor that you're training with? What's the instructor's experience, right? How do I feel about the free content that this organization has provided, right? So do I feel like they are giving good advice and information to me for me to be successful before I even pay them, right? How responsive are they before I even pay them, right? How nice are they before I even pay them, right? So what are alumni saying? So people who have graduated from the organization, do they feel confident? Are they successful? Are they working in the industry, right? What are they saying about their relationship with the organization now that they have moved on and graduated, right? And then we're also thinking about the cost of the training, right? So what is the cost of the training? And this is going to be the cost of the training all in, right? So not just the part where I'm paying, I show up to the training. No, if they have me buying books, how much are the books that they want me to buy, right? If they have me going to CPR, how much is that going to cost? If they have me attending a childbirth education class or a breastfeeding class, how much is that going to cost me, right? So really doing our due diligence to count up the cost to see like, what is it going to cost in order for me to be trained and certified with this organization? The other part is with the certification process, I want to let you guys know that it can be other implied things that are included with the certification process that you have to pay for, right? What do I mean by that? If you're a birth doula, you may have to pay for parking when you show up to the hospital if the hospital charges for parking, right? So just thinking through, I have a small child and I'm going to become a birth doula. And so that's going to require me to maybe get somebody paid for childcare, right? So that's some of the things too that may be included in the cost of becoming a doula. And then the certification process. So attending a training is really just step one. After you leave the training, the organization may say, hey, we want you to do some quizzes to make sure that when you attended the training, you actually absorb the information, right? Hey, we want you to support 3 to 5 clients. So we want you to get a survey filled out that says how the support was when you supported these 3 to 5 clients, right? Or we may want you to get a survey from the 3 to 5 providers that you worked with as a birth doula to say, how was their experience working with you and collaborating with you as part of the care team, right? So the certification process could take any number of time. I want to tell y'all that some organizations give you up to 4 years to complete the certification process. Some organizations give you up to 2 years. Some organizations give you less time. So making sure that you're checking in to see what do you have to complete as a part of the certification process, how much time do you have, and are you again in a season of your life where you're able to commit and dedicate to that time that you really need in order to go through the entire process of becoming a doula, training plus certification.
You hit the nail on the head. No, it's just some deeper questions, y'all, to ask yourself and to look into when it comes to training organizations outside of what's presented to you. That's the main thing I want to say is, particularly, again, let's say you're in a doula group, you're thinking that you want to become a doula, you're looking for organizations. Don't just take with this initial post that somebody made that's really beautiful and that's maybe really heartfelt and use that as a way to decide on a doula training. Dig deeper, ask the questions, look further, look into the instructors, look into, again, the brand, and go a step further than just what's presented to you, to do your due diligence to, again, gather as much information as you can and start to like compare what's the best fit for you, organization to organization.
Absolutely. Okay, y'all. So with that being said, we wanted to talk about what to expect when you attend a training. So your experience will vary depending on the organization and the method in which they're choosing to train you, right? So again, you can do completely online. So you're on a computer. And so that's going to be a different experience than if you choose to go to a 2-day or 3-day in-person workshop, right? Where you're spending all day from like 9 to 7 with the same group of people that are all aspiring and now training to become doulas and your instructor. We also want to say that your experience may vary depending on who the instructor is, right? So different instructors bring different teaching styles, experience with them, knowledge and information that they share throughout the training. So there will be a lot of information to digest, right? We can definitely tell you that. Sometimes it feels like information overload, especially being at an in-person birth doula training and an in-person postpartum doula training. I can tell you there's always a segment of time where people are like sharing birth stories, and then we're like getting to know each other, as well as getting a ton of information from our instructor as far as phases and stages of labor and different things that we can do in order to support our clients, communication, personality styles, right? These are some of the things that we go over during doula trainings that I've been a part of. And so it's really, really dope to be able to just feel the camaraderie in the community with a lot of people who are starting at the same time you are in the same journey, in the same path that you're about to walk in. And then also too, your instructor feels like your first mentor or your first coach on this journey. So getting to know them, allowing them support into you, and to be able to be connected with them as the person who is like the subject matter expert is really, really dope and cool to be able to have that first experience as well.
So going back to those questions to ask y'all, that trainer one, the one who's going to be the instructor, can be the very thing that makes your experience a really, really positive one, or one that you feel kind of about. And sometimes it might have nothing to do with the training organization. Literally sometimes, because a lot of instructors are given kind of the foundational, here's what you should cover because you're representing our organization, but they get to make it their own. This is where it's like, do your due diligence to look into the instructor as well, because instructors have a lot of freedom, it can be a really good thing to add their flavor to it and to teach it in their way and to make it fun. Or, you might have somebody who's more straight and narrow and like, no, we're just going to sit down and get to it and there's not too much extra. So that's where knowing that you're picking an organization, but you're also, like Jariel just mentioned, like essentially picking your first mentor. You're picking the first person who you get a real example of what does doula work look like, and that person really shapes what they are infusing into the way that they're training you. The way that they have showed up and their own experiences and stuff is infused into the training. And again, that's not always a bad thing. It's just the truth of matter that somebody is going to bring their experience into what they're sharing. So deep dive into the organization, but know that your training is going to be impacted by the instructor.
Yeah, absolutely. And so just to touch on this last thing about attending a training, I want to say, if it's going to be a virtual training, make sure that you have like extra devices, make sure that they are charged, make sure you have like your water and all the things that you need in order to get through a successful virtual training, especially if it's like virtual live, right? Where the person is on Zoom, like we are right now, teaching you throughout that time. If it's something where you have to go to a location and attend, let me say this, definitely dress in layers. Definitely bring a pen and something to write with. Bring like gum or candy or something like that, just in case you do get tired. I know some people are fitting in doula training around their full-time working schedule. So bring mints or something like that in case you do get tired. I will also say too, like do a test drive of the location and confirm that you know where the location is and that you have the telephone number of the instructor along with their email. That way, if something, goodness forbid, were to pop up, you are able to say, oh, you know what, I can't make it, I'm having car trouble, I'm running late, whatever that may look like, right? So a couple of pro tips about attending a training, either virtually or in person. I will say this, a lot of trainers make the money that you spend on training non-refundable. So it's very, very important to make sure that you are investing in something that you feel like is going to take you to the next level. I'm also going to give you guys this insider tip. A lot of the people that we coach who do a birth doula training 100% online and then now have to translate what they learned 100% online into in person, especially around doula skills, which is doing double hip squeezes or some of the other in-person sort of massages and things that we do that get really into body work. They don't feel comfortable moving forward with the client because they're not comfortable and competent in those doula skills. So if you feel like I'm not a massage therapist, I don't have a background in medicine, which you don't have to have at all in order to be a doula. But if you feel like me learning this for the first time 100% online is not going to breed confidence and translate into doing it in person, then you may want to consider not doing an online training for the first time and doing something in person. So that way you can get confident and knowledgeable in those skills and maybe just building on top of what you learned virtually instead of starting out that way. So just want to bring that up really quickly as far as attending a training, getting the skills and making that investment. Okay, so let's go ahead and move forward. So now what? We have completed the training. And so I want to let you guys know that we are, if you're on our email list, always offering like free classes and free training. So definitely check your emails and stay connected to us. You never know when we're going to pop up with another free training. So definitely check your email. We also are hosting like a really, really dope podcast, which I already mentioned. It's the Doula Road Trip podcast. We have dozens and dozens and dozens of episodes that go over different parts of becoming a doula, starting a business, marketing your business, finding clients, supporting those clients. Today, we dropped an episode about contracts and how to write a doula contract. Spoiler alert, don't write your own contract, right? So if you need help and support in those free ways, then definitely stay connected to our email list. Also listen to our podcast. I am located in Cleveland, Ohio, and I am hosting a doula training. Because this is time sensitive, I will say that the training is going to be May 21st and 22nd here in Cleveland, Ohio. It is the year 2020. So if you are watching this training after that, then it's already passed. But if you are interested in becoming a birth doula, if you are interested in attending an in-person training, then I am hosting just that. And so we'll make sure to email you over the information. So check your email for the link. Again, this is time sensitive. So if it's after the May 21st and 22nd of 2022, then completely disregard this. But if it is something that you are interested in taking the next steps to do, and you are within this time window, I do have seats available, and I would absolutely love to have you as an attendee within our training. Uh-oh, Deja, are you stuck on mute again? Okay, y'all, let me take Deja off mute because I know she has something to add.
I did it again. I did it again. No, a beautiful wrap up. I hope that this training was everything that y'all needed. Whoever sees this in real time, whoever watches this later on, that this serves you and answers some of those initial questions that you have and gives you perspective on some things you might not have even thought about. So no, you wrapped up beautifully, and I'm excited to see more people who want to make impact come into the space in a way that they get to make that impact, but they also get to create a lifestyle that serves them and that is in alignment. So make it a full rounded thing, y'all, when coming into this work. The impact you want to make with families and the way that your life looks and how it best serves you.
Absolutely. And I also want to bring up the fact that just like at the beginning of this, you saw a testimonial from one of our mentees. We definitely still offer mentorship and coaching. This is a great complement to the doula training that you're already doing. When you are looking to land clients, to start your business, to grow your social media pages, to figure out what it means and how it translates and what it looks like to really be a virtual doula, right? Those are some of the things that we help our mentees with. They are getting phenomenal success, as you saw at the beginning. And so we absolutely love to coach doulas and to make sure that you guys are successful and have longevity and long-standing careers within this industry in the way that doesn't burn you out, in a way that works for you, in a way that allows you to leave a legacy that you're proud of and that your family can also take part in. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely hit us back an email and let us know, and we will definitely support you around coaching and mentorship if that's something that you're ready to invest in. And again, thank you guys so much for showing up to our How to Become a Doula training. We're super excited anytime we get to talk about doula work and becoming a doula. So we will stop here because we will keep y'all all day otherwise.
Hey.
And thank you for sitting through our watermarked photos and all of the things. So we really, really appreciate y'all.
Yes. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.